for those that are here for the first time, I'm very big, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm very big on finding our purpose. I know that question was there, but especially in terms of ditching the drama and embracing the good. And I know you're probably asking, like, what does that mean? Where do we start with that? But I'm actually going to talk about it, at least from my lived experience. And I learned to do that in three particular areas, but I'm going to talk about it specifically in two: workplace and relationships. And actually, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. The third place is with ourselves, right?
Okay.
And I know someone's gonna hate me, right? But today I've been on a string of, I'm gonna challenge us to really consider that we all want the truth. We all want to ditch the drama, embrace the good, but we never really want to face ourselves. So I'm going to actually embark on that journey with you all today, and understand that when we talk about the why behind basically prioritizing our well-being and our joy, it actually starts with us finding ourselves in the midst of the ditching the drama and embracing the good. And I want to start with this actually. I'm always considered, Czar, like the quote unquote, I'm doing quotes in the air, like air quotes, sometimes as the strong friend, right? But in all honesty, you all, sometimes even the strongest amongst us find ourselves drained, confused, and I'm gonna say it, unappreciated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, in those moments, and I want to start here, it's easy to forget your worth and question your purpose. I want to start there because essentially talked about this. Someone's calling through. Sorry. Put this phone on do not disturb. I apologize for that. But you talked about this, like we have to distinguish on our to-do list between the difference between to do, to be. And I would say once you in survival mode, I talked about this, which is that autopilot, because we're talking about moving from autopilot to authenticity. We will find ourselves sometimes in the survival mode where you're like, to do what, right? And that's the moment where you, in what all you're doing, where you only found your worth and your meaning from doing for others, from loving on others, from finding yourself, your name getting validated at the workplace. You find yourself amiss in losing your sense of identity because you can only apply your good and your purpose in terms of workplace relationships, but not really understanding your true self.
Oh man, that's good.
Right. And so me as always being the strong friend, the one that everybody relies on, there was a time where I found myself, to be honest, and she reached out to me the other day, actually asking about relationship advice. It was my homie to this day, but I found myself in a one-sided relationship. Oh, quick tangent. Now that I'm thinking about my homie, we also need to learn, when we talk about ditching the drama and embracing the good, we need to also learn how to part ways with people without parting relationships.
Woo!
Okay. Here you go, starting.
No, just go.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, tell me what's coming up. Tell me.
No, well, we were just.
Denard, say it again.
Oh.
No, it's important. It's really important because like that one-sided friend, in my mind, I thought I had to get rid of her, it, and us. Right? But I had to realize that, and it's just this is. Oh, I'm gonna go in. I'm sorry. I have to go. So
please go.
Here's what I learned, you all. One, I had to learn that my person, my friend, wanted my advice, my help, but only in the way that she defined it. Right. and I had to learn that if I couldn't provide exactly what she wanted, right, then she actually turned on me. And that's what became exhausting. Right, because I'm trying to fix a problem that I don't realize I am the problem.
Oh my God.
To her. So I realized I was pouring so much out, and I kept feeling empty. And we're going to talk about this in the workplace. And I want to pause here real quick because a lot of times when we talk about ditching the drama, because we're going to talk about barometers, like these litmus indicators that are pain points that are really your body telling you, listen, this is something you need to ditch. Right. The point I'm trying to get is when this was happening, I started trying to make sense out of nonsense. right? I was trying to figure out why does she not love me the way I love her? What is it that I can do to make her appreciate me more, right? So I found myself now trying to figure out our problem and then my own problem. And I was doing that all by myself. And you all know that that I have this flood personality, and the flood personality means that you're someone, you're the first. That means you're the first responder. You're the frontline person. When there's a disaster, you're there. You're ready to help people. But when everything is said and done, when you turn around and you look around after you focused on the problem, you look and nobody's there. But you're the one that's left to pick up the residue.
Oh man!
Right. So that's that one. That's the challenge of one-sided support. That's the sense of frustration that feels like the weight of on your chest. If Clarita was here, we were talking about that in the other room. But there's a weight that you feel on your chest. And catch this. Remember, I told y'all take energy to be fake. This was the other barometer in that relationship. I could feel my smile starting to get forced.
Wow.
And then,
wow.
Hey, I gotta say this. I'm about to stand up. I'm gonna stand up. I don't care.
Go ahead and stand up.
Then I got. Thank you. Thank you for giving me permission. Listen, then here. I know I jumped too early. My brother hates when I do this. When I preach, my brother has to stand up to catch me because he's like, Denard, you got to learn how to start slow. It's like an airplane. You got to learn how to start slow, then you take off. But he's like, you just take off. All right, I'm taking off, bro. Yeah. Helicopter. Oh, I like that reframe. I might need you in my pocket next time I preach. That's it. But here's the reality. My willingness, this is another indicator. What you were created for, you can't do because now your heart is turning callous. My willingness to help started twisting into resentment. I'm gonna let that sit. You can't do what you were created to do because the disposition of your heart is no longer in it. Someone needs to hear that. Your position with that person does not determine the disposition of your heart.
Oh. Y'all feeling that?
Go ahead, bro. I'm gonna pause.
Nah, yeah, because you it's so much going on in my brain right now, in my head right now with what you're saying, because the reality of that is, I think we were just having this conversation in one of the groups earlier, and ultimately this whole thing about really being yourself. And when we're stressed out by all of this other stuff, we're trying to fix all of these other little things. And when we stepped away from the energy that really is ourself. And so even some of the burnout, the reason we experience this burnout, or I'm just over it, or I'm done, or I'm completely exhausted, is because we're trying to do it out of something that's calloused, or we're trying to do it out of somewhere that's not. You said a minute ago, trying to make sense out of nonsense. I had a moment, man, one time where I was saying, I'm like, God, I need to renew my mind. And he said, son, you're trying to renew your mind to something that's not the truth. Because you're trying to fit in, or you're trying to do things the way that they're pressuring you to do it, or the way that you feel that you need to, the societal way. And so you're trying to fit into that, but that ain't the mind I've given you. That's not even the truth. You're looking to a world that doesn't know who it is to tell you who you are. So,
see,
and it makes us callous. Like you said, it makes us callous. It makes us hard. We have to force the smile. Oh, bro, go ahead, man.
Zar, you remember I had a huge affinity for you when I first heard that. Not too many people know what they want to do at an early age. Like I think you were saying, like even since the age of 12, you knew where you were going to be at this point, right? And so when we're drained, that draining then becomes our focus, and then it becomes a distraction, because you've heard the cliche, right? We talk about cheap cliches, so you can't pour out of an empty cup, but that's essentially what we're doing, right? We're trying to give more when God is really saying, give less, do less, be less, right? And listen, what you just said, especially talking about trying to CrossFit or form fit into places, and instead of acceptance, we're doing assimilation, right? Like now I'm gonna jump right into it, like the workplace drama. Workplace drama envy. Let me talk about it real quick, because this is something that, moving from the one-sided help with the friend, right? And I saw someone said break it down into in the chat. I would say essentially for the previous conversation, what we have to, the key that I want you to focus on is noticing that you will experience frustration before you experience good if you don't ditch the drama, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will start experiencing the being disingenuine in the sense of like no longer can smile, right? Because like you will have masks of friendship, you will have masks of love, you will have masks of appreciation, and then you will never be able to truly be yourself in that place. And then remember, ultimately, what's going to start taking place is that because of all these things, you're going to start twisting your help into resentment, regret, disappointment, right? Those are the indicators. I just really want you all to see the pain points that start to activate you and move you in a place that because catch this is what I call the lot experience. There's a position that God told you to make temporary, but you made permanent, right? So you still looking back at someone that's not even giving you a second glance or a second chance. You're still letting people back into that space. And we have to learn how to depart from that place instead of trying to form fit, trying to make everything work. When you recognize it's not working, that's actually the biggest indicator that it's not working, you're not working, they're not working, right? But we were created to have a purpose, a working purpose, right? Actively engaging in us. So let's talk about work real quick, because I got to go here because you just reminded me. So I was an administrator. I won't call out the university, but I was an administrator at a university. And I had just had this promotion, went from a predominantly Black environment to a predominantly white environment, still high foot traffic and things of that nature. And I found myself, I was always a pourer, right? I was always pouring into helping students. But ironically, instead of getting the support from my colleagues, I felt envy. All right. Started to spread rumors about me. And to the point, catch this is very important, to the point that my own office, and this is what we have to start noticing when people suddenly we start to embrace the drama instead of ditching it, we start to make compromises. So they would instead of meeting with their students in the back, they said, "Oh, Denard, can we meet with your students in your office?" Right? Now they could meet with their students in the back, right? But again, justification and slowly this creeping compromise. And so as I was covering for them, they never covered for me. So I found myself actually covering for their lunch hour, staying over my lunch hour, not having a lunch hour, to eventually my permanent position came covering the front desk, which was a student position who I was actually supervising. But unawares, I'm thinking I'm doing good, right? But you have to catch this. Sometimes people will make you feel bad for doing good. And that's what started happening here. Right? I started helping people. They moved me out from my office into the back. You're talking about making sense out of nonsense. This is what was so baffling. I was succeeding with helping others, but instead of celebrating me, I faced sabotage. Now I need y'all to catch this, because what at the core of that experience is your sense of belonging, your sense of identity. Because now what you're grappling with is, despite your role, there's envy, there's false narratives from your colleagues that should be supporting you. And then, oh my goodness, this is what broke my heart. Then I see Tamara, I'll go to you afterwards. This is really what broke my heart, bro. When the exit sign started flashing, oh man, I do not want to cry today. When the exit sign started flashing and I was ready to leave, I remember calling my dad and saying, "Daddy," I called him Daddy. I said, "Daddy, how do you say it in English? I didn't want to stay here anymore. I don't want to stay here anymore." Right. And my dad said, "Denard, do you have he's old school. Remember I told you about, I was raised in this pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality. He's like, "Do you have a plan B?" And I said, "Daddy, I never intended on having a plan B when I leave here. Right. Wow. I just don't want to be here." Right. And he said, "Did you pray about it?" I said, "I can't pray, Daddy. I'm losing my peace, man." I was like, "I can't pray. Right. I just don't want to be here." And just fast forward, this is where really what broke my heart. We dressed up in the Western style, like suit and tie and all this stuff at at the place, right? Because you want to dress for success, again, air quotes. But outside of work, I just dress down. And so, because I want to be casual, no one knowing where I'm at and things of that nature. I was at a Publix where shopping is a pleasure. And I hear, Denard, Denard. And I'm like, man, you don't be calling me unless you're calling me P. Diddy, because, I look kind of like him, you know. But no, I'm joking. All jokes aside. But the main point I'm trying to make here is that I was caught off guard. And this person was making me notice for the first time that I felt unnoticed because it was uncomfortable. And then she runs to me and she says, Denard, they told us we couldn't see you. And I'm like, why? They didn't tell us why. They just told us we couldn't see you. Man, bro, I just broke down crying, dog. Like, that's the first time I ever felt bad for doing good, dog.
For doing good. Yeah. Yeah.
And that, that's sometimes what you need to ditch, because that's a barometer. When people make you feel bad for doing good, don't try to make sense out of that nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not your place to fit. That's not your place to assimilate. But what you do need to capture, that it doesn't feel good. It's not genuine.
That's what we experience. We experience that making me feel bad. Here's the thing, even to replace the word for doing good, replacing feeling bad for being me.
Ooh. Don't do that to me. Now you're starting me. Do not do that to me, Czar. Do not.
When we can, you mentioned, dude, you said, go ahead.
No. I'm coming after you because I'm still going to go now. You made me mad. Now I'm going.
Oh, okay. You said when we can't, what I took from something that you said when we can't be authentic, this is how I took this. When we can't be authentic, we often lose the desire to be here. You said to your dad, I don't want to be here. I just don't, and it wasn't coming from really just a lack of your desire for existence or life and, whatever, while you were in who you are. It was when now you're pressured to be something different or pressured to not be fully seen as you really are. It's like, I don't want to be here. The authentic parts of ourselves knows that it showed up here to be what it is, not to be what everything wants it to be, but to be who it was designed to be. And so then some of the exhaustion that we tend to feel, at least this is what I took away. Some of the exhaustion that we tend to feel is the drama that we've embraced. It's some of that thing of taking on the identity of the world, or taking on the identity of those that we sometimes think that we're trying to help when we're people pleasing. We think we're trying to help when we're just showing up in a certain kind of way. But then in some ways, we're being pushed aside. The real essence of who we are is being pushed aside. And when that happens, the authentic self, when we're not able to be that authentic self, we lose our desire to be here, because that's also where our momentum is.
That's where our momentum is. That's the distinction between kinetic and potential energy, right? Like the reality, bro. And I'm gonna stop here because you have hands. The reality, bro. I had to recognize. I'm gonna say this because the confusion was the knot in my stomach when that student ran up to me. And I had tears because I suddenly realized I was inaccessible. My heart felt shattered in that moment. But I also realized, even though I was inaccessible, they wanted what I had, my gifts and my talents, but they did not want me. Come on, man.
That's at the very heart.
Come on.
That's at the very heart of why I have been being more transparent in my life, because I'm just gonna say it this way, because we just saying stuff, I guess, because I really want to know all of these voices that say I love you. Do they really? Do you see me to love, or do you just see what I do? Do you just see how I stimulate you? And so in some senses, when I expose the real, true, authentic me, do you still love me? Want me, even if I wasn't able to deliver a message? Do you want me?
I gotta let that sit. Do you want me?
You heard me say, Denard, you may have heard me say this before. I know some people in the room have heard me say, and I say it jokingly and I mean it at the same time. And some people that are private clients that I have, I say this all the time. It's like, I listen for my name. If you call Czar, that's permission to me. It's permission to show up as me. And the moment that I feel like I'm being put in something else, I don't feel good. Like you said, it's like then you're having to force this smile. And I have to recognize that don't feel good. Is this not feel good coming because I'm just not feeling good? Or is this not feeling good coming because I'm feeling pressure to fit into something? And they said they wanted me, but it seemed like they didn't really want me. They just wanted something external of me or wanted me to fit into their box. But anyway, that's just something that came to my mind. That was just a thought that came to my mind. Oh, okay. All right. We got a couple of hands right here. Tamara, go ahead. I know your hand been up for a second.
All right. I got like 1 minute left. I got to get off the clock. But I just want to say, Denard, I'm gonna try not to cry because gosh, it was back in around 2008, maybe 2009, 2008, 2009. I had been working at this company for like 3 years. And this was my third position. So I had started out as like an administrative assistant, and then I moved into customer service, and I was rocking and rolling. I was like, I'm very competitive. So if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be the very best person to do it. And so this position came open in HR, and I had just graduated with my associate's degree, and I was really interested in HR because I'm a people person, and my customer service manager like literally went to the HR director and said, "She's amazing," and gave me a rave review. And so I was actually in that HR as an HR journalist position. So I had my associate's degree, and I was going and doing what I thought I was supposed to do. I didn't really get clear guidance on everything I was supposed to be doing, but whatever I was doing, I was working with like the hiring managers or whatever. And even like the HR manager was like taking time with me to meet with me so that I could ask questions. And it was so weird. It came right out of left field. And she came to me and she said, called me into the office for a meeting. And she's like, you know, um, we have some concerns. So we're putting on a performance improvement plan.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, of course I'm like, okay, I'm on the plan. I'm going to follow the plan, right? And so I said to her, if it's not working out here, can I go back to customer service? And they were going to take me back. And she said, no, you can't go back there because you've seen sensitive information. I knew everybody's salary and whatever. So I knew then when they put me on that performance initiative plan, improvement plan, I was gone because that was their MO. And it was like, of course, I failed the plan. And that woman looked me in my face and told me that I could become, if I wanted to stay there, I had to be the receptionist. And I had
Wow.
like 100 coworkers.
Wow.
How in the world were I going to explain to them that I was a executive assistant, I was a customer service rep, I was an HR journalist, and then I am the receptionist?
Receptionist. Yeah.
I packed my stuff up, whatever little stuff I had on my desk, and I walked out of there, and I didn't even say goodbye. I didn't say I quit. I just walked out of there. And I didn't have no plan either. But yeah, that just what you said just really resonated with me. And I think, and I had another job where I worked with the public as a career coach, and people would like the way that I helped them so much that they would come in, they would tell their friends, and say, hey, you need to go up there and see Tamara, and she'll hook you up, whatever. Nothing that I wasn't supposed to be doing, just
Yeah.
I was
We
doing,
got you.
yeah, above and beyond. And I used to get in trouble when someone would come to the door and ask for me. I would get in trouble because any career coach, quote unquote, should have been able to help them. So I know exactly what you're feeling like, Denard, because I've experienced that over and over in my career because I'm a leader. I'm gonna shine bright, and the more you try to stifle me, and it took me a long time to come to that realization, but it wasn't none but jealousy. Thanks for letting me share.
Wow. Wow. Denard, you got any feedback for that? He over there.
I just, man, I don't want to talk too much because I want to make sure everyone hear from the group, but I just got to repeat what was just said here at the end. It was nothing but jealousy. but I'm going to shine bright. I'm going to shine bright because that's only going to invoke your jealousy even more and let you realize that you can never be me, right? You can never be me.
Yeah.
You were never intended to be me. And maybe that might help you to be you. Just maybe.
Oh, that's good. You were never even intended to be me. Go ahead, Alexis.
Oh, there's just something that I've come to the realization lately when it comes to being the scapegoat in the family of origin. You're born into this family, but they give you the genes, right? They give you your makeup of who you are and maybe some personality traits, but at the end of the day, your authentic self comes from somewhere else. And sometimes you have to strip all that identity off in order to get to your real self, which is your call. And I feel like, especially with the thing with Denard, that makes me upset, but I can identify with that because I feel like my identity, and I've been murdered by words, the words of other people have broke me down. And the word that you used was audacity. And it's like, why should I put their words above my creator's words?
Ooh. Oh. Taking cues from somebody that's not even dealing in an authentic energy. Come on now. Go ahead, Naya. Do I be saying it right? Did I say it right? I said it right.
You're closer now,
Yeah.
Nyla.
Nyla.
Nyla. Well, yeah, I just had to say I got a lot of feelings hearing Denard's story. It reminds me how easy it is to glamorize martyrdom, that doing the most, going above and beyond. There were a few times where he said I was doing good and my body was reacting saying, no, that mindset that I had before about overextending as being a virtue does not still sit with me, which is not to diminish what you shared. It's just proves to me kind of some of the growth that I've had towards viewing that, not feeling selfish for preserving what is true to me so that I can give what fuels my purpose. I'm an economist by trade, so opportunity cost. You cannot do everything. There's a cost every time you cut off some part of your day for some other purpose. And this one final point that I wanted to share that came up for me was that my people pleasing and overextending at work was nothing more than procrastination. I was taking care of other people's needs because they were very well defined, and I hadn't yet defined my needs. And I had proved by everything I did for other people that I'm capable of working hard, making sacrifice, and doing everything. But I had not lined that up with my own purpose. Right now, I'm looking for that purpose. And here with you guys, I am inspired to find what that could be. But it was procrastination, So it's taking some of that people-pleasing behavior that we still want to say, hey, should I get credit for this? I say, no, that to me is not a virtue anymore. And just wanted to share that. I hope I'm not offending anybody.
No,
I'm offended. No, I'm just waiting.
No, I think you're spot on. And I think there's a couple of things I want to say towards that, actually, because that's going to lead us into our next place. Because what you're hinting at towards is embracing the good. But I think we have to find a balance, right? Because I talk about this with my wife, Oda, my purpose mate. You do deserve to be validated, right? You do deserve to be validated when know you put in.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Back up. What you call your wife?
Oda. Oh, you're talking about my purpose mate. Yeah.
Purpose mate.
Yeah. That's why I'm here on Circles. Oda understands my purpose. Legit, she came to me and we were going through a lot of shifts, and she came to me. She said I was working at my licensure for social work, and she came to me. She was excitement, and this is why I want to talk about embracing the good, because sometimes the people that love you, they love on you through understanding your purpose, right? And that's the type of validation I'm talking about, by the way. She came, bro, and she was like, she said, baby, you need to apply for this. And I'm listening, but I'm not I'm hearing, but I'm not listening. Right?
Mhm,
She says, then she says to me, baby, you know what you want to do with ending suicidal attempts, and you know what loneliness feels like. She's reminding me of my purpose, right?
mhm,
While I'm on
mhm.
autopilot with this clinical and social work stuff that I'm trying to do, I'm on autopilot. I'm like, I got to get this done. I can't be distracted. But you can't when someone is actually showcasing love to you in a way where they're reminding you of your purpose. You no longer can be distracted, because when they say the words that speak towards your soul, you
Yeah.
will
Mhm,
listen. You will
mhm,
respond to that. So when
mhm,
she started saying that, I said, "Oh, okay." I turned
mhm,
around. I turned
mhm.
around and I said, "Okay, let me check it out." I didn't hesitate on responding and applying,
Mm.
right? Because at that point in time, see, there's some jobs that we're applying for. Oh my goodness, you all. I gotta get to this because I think this is so important, dog. Like, we sometimes, and this is why embracing the good is important, because some of our experiences are painful, right? But they become turning points. So
Mhm.
in terms of this aspect of what the overextending, the aspect of the do-gooders and things of that nature. What I think is important, I'm an evaluator, so um, I'm gonna collaborate both of these stories to make this point. There was, I think I shared previously, in August of 2021, I was about to graduate, but I was waking up after going to sleep on time, more tired than before, right? And I couldn't figure out why. And
Mhm.
this is to your point. I recognized that I had this thing called Toggle on my desktop that would actually calculate all the time that I was spending on different projects. And I realized I spent 1,000 hours that semester assisting my mentees, right? In terms of hours that I spent on my next steps after
Wow.
graduation, getting to graduation was only 100 hours, right?
Wow.
And then when I was able to look at that, you're right. The point that you made here is very important, is that we need to, when we calibrate or recalibrate, kind of like what you used here, it's important to know that you're not broken, you're not doing something wrong, but you're not actually properly placing what you're doing that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
And so I
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
properly place what I was doing, which was right now. I was helping people. In terms of helping people, I had to recognize that even though I was waking up tired, I had the capacity to help people. What if, what if all the time and energy that I did was actually flipped 1,000 into myself? That means those 300 hours would feel like 1,000 to them,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
Because now
Mhm.
I'm giving all, and I'm not actually going beyond anymore. I'm actually giving it in a more structured,
That's
focused way,
good.
because now I'm responding with my purpose. Now I can be sensitive to your needs, because now I'm sensitive to the voice of God, and I'm understanding what's consistent, what's constant, what's needed. And then we can collaborate and actually take those moments. Now you're no longer giving me credit, because also, you know, my limitations. You know, you're like, and you will hear people say this, Denard, I know you don't have time, and I know you don't even know how to do this, right? Some of them will be honest. And so when they see that we're actually figuring it out together, they're like, oh man, I know something had to come from somewhere else. That's when they're acknowledging the Holy Spirit. That's when they're
Mhm.
acknowledging the
Mhm.
fact that now also in those moments I'm learning and I'm teaching. So in those moments, it's also important to know that, and I'm going to use your word in terms of, see, I'm also a theologian in this sense. So the way I see martyrdom is actually in the proper way the Greek word talks about it. Because in the Bible, the same word for martyr is the same word for witness,
Wicked.
right?
Mhm.
And so it's important for us to understand, if we're talking about imartia, that what are you bearing witness to when you are giving or doing good deeds? Are you bearing witness to your good, or are you bearing witness to his good? Right?
Mm.
That's why there's a distinction between what's good and what's godly. Right? In the
Mhm.
Bible, the word tov is very simple. Like, everything he did was complete. Everything I was doing from a spirit of completion. See what I did.
Mm.
Imagine me. So that's where I agree with what you're saying. We have to distinguish those things, and once we extinguish the ego, then we can actually get to where he's trying to get us to go, which is essentially to point people back towards him, to allow people to empower themselves to do what he created them to do, and essentially respond to their purpose. So now what my mentees see through me, and what they're modeling through themselves and through their activities, they're modeling what completion really looks like. They don't have to redefine good. Now they understand what good looks like. When God says this is good, this is complete. So they're responding to their purpose. So every time they're doing something and they feel incomplete, they know it's not a godly thing, because now they're trying to fawn and people please someone else. And that's why one of my favorite verses in the Bible is essentially where Paul says, if I were here to seek to please men, then I would not be a follower of God. So this whole fawning trend was already a conversation before we even had the terminology. We were people pleasing before we even knew what people pleasing was, right? So, but I still do believe that we need to be validated. So here I'm coming to where my wife was talking about it. Man, you got me going on a complete tangent, but I like this stuff.
I'm tracking.
My wife was telling me she has a performance evaluation like Tamara was talking about. She knows what effort she put in. Olda is good at what she does. I had to tell Olda, like, I don't like to call people an expert, but I said, baby, you an expert. You know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it. And that's why people that are not reliable and people that just got into their position, they put you on their team because you convenience their inconvenience. Like they don't have the capacity. Right. And so I said, baby, you're good at what you're doing. She left her performance review and the person said, they sandwiched it. They did all these things. And the 5 is basically you're exceeding, going far and beyond. And this is why I think we have to properly place it, because in the corporate world, they actually have an indicator for it too, right? They have earmarks for it, because they're knowing how to validate, and their validation is through price packages, right? Salary caps and the salary range and all these things. So she knew what it meant when the person was saying, oh, you're doing all these things, but you're not a 5, you're a 4. Now she got a 4 last year, right? She got a 4 last year under another boss that said, the person that we just hired for this position, I would have hired you for it, right? But they chose against it. So not only can Olda do her job, she was doing this person's job before. They knew how to do their job, and they're giving her credit to doing her job. In all honesty, Olda actually saved this entire, I won't go into this healthcare, this digital healthcare place. So she should be validated for the work she put in, right? But when people validate your work, it doesn't mean they validate your self-worth. That's where we need to distinguish the two. That's the line of demarcation. I'm going to repeat it. Your position should not determine the disposition of your heart. So where people place me, how they validate me, that doesn't determine the disposition of my heart. I know that what I did the good from actually was birthed from a good place, from a place of love, from a place of honoring the integrity of my purpose and what I should be called to do. So I do think we need to have a balanced approach to it, where we do have a clear distinction of what we put effort into, how we put effort into. But I also do believe that when we do put effort into things, we do desire acknowledgement, right? And giving acknowledgement is not problematic. It's when we give acknowledgement that actually doesn't meet the expectations and actually taps into a sense of falsehood, right? That makes me expect expectations of validation. That then correlates to the realization that hits hard. This is my self-worth. That's why a lot of people describe who they are by the jobs they do. I'm a chaplain, right? How are you doing? What's your name? Chaplain so-and-so. No, my name is Denard.
Yeah.
And I also do chaplaincy work.
Call me by
my chaplaincy
name.
work, call me by my name.
Anybody else want to be called by their name? Anybody want to be called by your name? Like, no, really. Like, because Denard, that's what, like, I talk a lot about certain things that we experience in our life. It doesn't speak to our worth, not even just what we deserve or what we earned or what people feel like because that's all based off of their systems. Anyway,
Correct.
They're the standard for that. And so oftentimes, but our soul knows it. I used to say my favorite line of one of the Christmas songs was, and the soul felt its worth in O Holy Night. And it's like, that's just my favorite line, favorite thing I like to hear even around Christmas time. And the soul felt its worth. And we got one of the rooms that's called Aligning to Our Worth. And it's so hard for us to wrap our mind around it because we don't have a lot of things in our life that actually truly speaks to our authentic worth. It only and so that's why we get caught in everything else. That's why we get caught in people pleasing. That's why we get caught in the being, the doing, and all, and earning our status from, whatever. All of these external factors is because, and I think that our eyes here in circles is shifting. I believe, I would like to hope so. Through these rooms, you all are in these spaces, is shifting to understand and really truly knowing our worth. And here's the thing, that can't be increased or decreased. It is what it is, set in stone by the creator. And if you don't like it, go argue with the creator. I'm just saying.
Listen, I gotta say this. I'm gonna stop because we see. After this, I gotta stop because we see heads, bro. You are so spot on. Listen, you are so spot on. Listen, I remember we're gonna switch to embracing the good real quick. You go. I promise. And actually, I'll switch it in this example. So remember, I told you all that they were making me feel bad for doing good, right? And at that point in time, I could only go back to the place that understood who I was, and I went back to Laura Katina. Oh, I don't want to cry, guys. And back to Laura Katina Hamilton, my former boss. She was my lifeline, man. She reminded me of my value. And I went upstairs. She got a high position, y'all. She saw me in her office. I was sitting down. I was tapping. I couldn't sit still. And Laura, she stopped whatever she was doing. I said, and they were calling her name. I remember Carissa was calling her name. And she was like, listen, Denard's in my office and he needs me. She stopped everything she was doing. And she made me feel like, although my world was stopping, I was still the world to someone. And the reason I'm crying is because what she told me, she said, Denard, wherever you go, you add value. It's not just about the job. It's about you. Wherever you go. And upon my time going to the seminary, January 4th, 2016, I'm going to my first speaking engagement. And one of my colleagues called me and he said, Denard, I know you don't want to hear this, but Laura had died in a tragic accident. And all I remember is that because she understood that I added value, she was able to stop whatever she was doing before she passed. It made me feel like that I was the world to somebody, even though I felt like my world was stopping. So do we need to be validated? Yes, we do, man. But by the right people that can actually understand that at the core of what you do and why you do it, it's not for praise. It's not for people to be seen. It's for people to point. Man, I got to stop because I'm getting way too emotional, man. I really do miss it. But she does remind me that wherever, and I want someone to hear this. I don't care if you forget anything I said today, but wherever you go, you do add value. You do add value.
And Clarita, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. And that reality, folks, is why I said this is why we have to see one another's worth. I know we go through a bunch of drama and trauma and slap your mama and all this other little stuff. But when we miss sight of of truly being seen, known, loved, and heard, we don't function right. It's not a luxury. This is not like a luxury or a romantic, a romantic statement. It's what helps us thrive. This is how we thrive as a species, as a being, as a spirit, as a soul. And all of this, the authentic self, all of that stuff is a part. That's an indication of worth. This is why I live authentic, because that's an indication of worth. It's a whole nother level of consciousness. Go ahead, Clarita.
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is really bringing some things up. The unfolding of our awareness of our authenticity. Made me think there's this very crucial point, and Denard, that was so beautiful that you showed your feelings like that, because that point is the one I want to bring up right now, that we cross this bridge in the unfoldment of that awareness and getting there. And one example that I'd like to use is when people do something important, like say, for instance, a guitar player who becomes very famous. And then they have a fan club usually. I've seen this over and over. They have a fan club. And they're people, just regular people that live in little rooms or with their parents or in apartments or whatever, that admire them and follow them. And they are their support group, the ones that are always there, the ones that are, you're good, you know. And then there's that point that I'm talking about where that person all of a sudden crosses and the money starts coming in and they forget how they got there. And that's why I want to say, you were talking about it's not the position, it's the heart. Well, this is what I thought when I started contemplating this, is it's the face on the heart, not on the dollar bill. Because when they cross over, they forget those faces and they go into this other place where their face starts getting put up on posters, on Starbucks coffee cups, and they forget everybody. That point right there where you cross and you forget the face on the heart and replace it with a face on the dollar.
And that's where
to do with emotions. I mean, when Denard was crying, I thought that is so important not to forget that feeling is important. That's what connects us to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when we this is why I don't like when sometimes we say we don't want to be emotional, we don't want to show our emotions, we don't want, then you're telling me that you want to stop showing the face on your heart and you rather show the face that's acceptable in our society.
It's, you know, that's what buys everything. Anything you want, it's going to be represented by a bill. Because that's what you need to get it.
Wow. It'll pull us away from that which really and ultimately matters.
Yeah. And that's the point. We have to be very careful there.
My goodness.
Like if somebody says to you, "Oh, Zara, you're so great. Do you want to start? Why don't you start posting things all over the place, and you know, you become the love guru." You know, so is Denard. And but I always notice a hesitation in you because you are so much into the authentic self. You are so true to that I just think in my mind, Zara doesn't really want to do that. He wants to find the balance.
Well, you know, where you see in my heart, Clarita, because that's the very, I've had people say, you should do this and do this. And it's like, I listen for my name. I literally, and when I'm saying I'm listening for my name, I'm talking about what Denard, I'm looking for the spaces that wants what I really bring in terms of my worth, and that spaces where I can see theirs.
Yeah.
And to respond based on each other, where the currency is now us knowing our worth.
Yes, right. This is why I'm so connected with you and Denard and some other people. And Circles attracts some very special people. So,
he does.
I mean, once in a while we get somebody who's, a little bit different, but pretty much the biggest part of Circles is, and that happens everywhere, biggest part of Circles, some very special people. And I've noticed that is energies like birds, birds of a feather flock together. Well, so does that type of consciousness.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Clarita. Whew.
That's
Go ahead,
so
Carla.
beautiful. And thank you, Denard, for just being who you really are and showing us, modeling that it's okay for us to feel. Because that's what's so important.
Whew. Go ahead, Carla. Wow. Thanks,
okay, real quick, all I can say is, wow, I love this. I have to listen to this again. I was fantastic. Both y'all are just, y'all together is just like, woo. It's almost like I had a beer or something. I didn't. I ain't lying. It's like I got a little buzz. I said, oh my goodness gracious. Fantastic. So as I was listening to all this, I was thinking in terms of different things, and this just came to me, and I wrote it out while I was talking, and I heard you all talking. I'm thinking like this: after a traumatic experience, it's absolutely necessary to go through a rebirthing process of self after a traumatic experience, because you get yourself in a place of self-discovery to remember who you really are and were and always were meant to be, and reach your highly soulful purpose in life to thrive and be your better self.
Come on, Carla. Yes. Mm-hmm. Y'all receive that? Oh my goodness. Y'all hear that?
I just wrote it myself.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That's what it
One
is.
more time.
You
One more
have,
time. Give it to
okay,
us one more
I
time. One
wrote
more
it
time.
out. I put it in my notepad. Okay. After a traumatic experience, it's absolutely necessary to go through a rebirthing process of self to get yourself in a place of self-discovery, to remember who you really are and were always meant to be, and reach your highly soulful purpose in life to thrive and be your better self.
That just brought tears to my eyes. God dog it. Stop making my eyes sweat. Go ahead.
Y'all two did it. I mean, I'm just saying that's what I thought of. That's what it is. Honestly. So just want to share that.
Remember who you are, who you really are.
Yes.
And who you were always meant to be.
Correct. Yep. It's a rebirthing process. You go through all that trauma and all these things that happen to you and people doing it. I'm not going through everything that you said, but I heard you clearly is that you know it's off, something's off, because that is not you. You need to be something better to go through this, because after this process, you will be better.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why I've said, folks, you know, I've talked about, you know, a lot of times in therapy and all this, so they take us back to our childhood. They take us to the breach. But the victory is beyond the breach. So we go back to see how we started shifting and being a certain way. But the victory, the rebirthing is returning to the purity of that child before the breach happened. That's your true self. That's your highest self. That's your real self. That's your authentic self. And so then this becomes all of our moving forward really is a return. We see we use the word healing all the time. I told you all the word healing actually means return to wholeness. And when we see that, now our job is just make that alignment. We have a few habits that come in, or a few tendencies that come in, or a few things that pulled us away, but we're realigned. We've been operating autopilot, but let's realign. Let's get back to authenticity. Go ahead, Denard. Let's close this out. Go.
Oh man, there's a lot that I want to say, but I would say it's interesting you brought up what you brought up, and there's a lot of emotions, and I think in embracing what I was describing as the good, I think it's also like some of what we're sharing here is like this word that people call discernment, like intuition, and we have to also learn how to separate, remember what's good versus what's godly, because you talked about the alignment aspect, because sometimes good people can misalign your path, right? Remember I said that even good intentions can create meaningful harm. And so it's important to align. And it's interesting you talked about returning to the sense of innocence. And now hopefully those that see in the scripture when Jesus is literally protecting the children and he says to them his exclamation and emphatic command, essentially, it's not a suggestion. If you want to get to heaven, you have to be like them, the children. Yeah, like a little child, right? So this is not, you see this through the entirety of scripture when he meets with Nicodemus. We won't go into all the details, but there's the word of rebirth, right? And the question is, again, we have to identify the barometers to recognize, are you in a position where you're always giving, not receiving, right? Are you experiencing a burnout that and I look for it in these 4 ways: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional? Are you experiencing it in any shape, form, or fashion? We talked about this last time, are you reacting more than you're responding? Right? And you've all heard me say this a lot. Are you in a position where this is autopilot? This is literally language of autopilot, where you feel that you're overloaded, overcommitted, and overwhelmed. Right? This is where multitasking, you come to this awareness, the significant shift that multitasking is a myth, right? So as we close out here, you all, the question you should be asking is, how do we truly embrace the good in the face of negativity, right? Because we're going to experience a lot of unpleasant things in this world, wicked problems that exist. And I'm being very clear with this here because I want to make sure that there's times even when compliments will make you feel uncomfortable, right? Because you're struggling to kind of fully accept positive feedback. But that's why that forced pause, like Lauren Katina Hamilton was able to teach me. Sometimes when you don't love yourself, you need to accept the love of people that you've already poured into. See, Laura could pour back to me what I poured into her because at the end of that, she said, Denard, I know you inspire people because you inspired me to go back to school. And that's actually why I was tearing up, y'all, because right before the accident, she was just about to graduate, right? And so just to know that you're good goes beyond you. That's when you have to start to recognize how we reject people that are even sent in our lives to tell us good, and we're uncomfortable with it. You might start saying, you got to catch yourself, because when she was talking, and I'm in here, she was talking, I caught myself. I was saying, it's nothing. When she was talking about you inspire, I was like, it's nothing, right? Or I hear people say this a lot, don't mention it. Or the inner critic, I could have done better. You're not embracing the good when you say that. Right? We can, you follow me? You can embrace the good, right? Embracing the good means giving and receiving of love.
Yes.
Right? That's why I said you got to ditch that drama, right? Love love begets love, so that means there's reciprocity in it. But here's the caveat. That's why we're here. There's a reframe and rebirth and a rephrase that needs to be important here. A lot of people are seeing this aspect of, I didn't get love from you. You didn't give me the love the way I should have gotten love. But what I'm trying to say is self-love is the tool. You have to start with how you love yourself. And that's how you embrace the good. That's how you embrace the good.
Y'all thank Denard. Just heart the screen while Tabitha, you go. And I want to ask a question before we go, too. But Tabitha, go ahead real quick, and then.
I thank you so much. I am so blessed. I feel so blessed to listen to Denard talking about workplace, and now embracing your the good, looking beyond the good. But how do you distinguish? Because I kind of just feel that I don't have clarity. How do you distinguish what is you as a person giving because you think is required, but then are you giving more than you're getting? As you said that you're giving more than you're getting in, and you're feeling like your tank is running empty. Because there's that feeling. Yes, you wanted to do good, and yes, you wanted to give and love, because God is love. And the all what you can do with the suffering world, yes, we're gonna suffer troubles in this world, and God reveals us. But when do you distinguish when enough you have given enough and
Yeah.
you're receiving back?
Yeah, and let me make sure I'm capturing this before we go, because what I'm hearing is, because this is an excellent question, and to me, it lies at the heart of what we've been discussing in different spaces, different rooms. It's like setting the healthy boundaries, and remember, boundaries actually are relationship building, so they are built on a foundation of love, but also avoiding burnout, right? So how do you distinguish the two, between healthy giving and giving that depletes you? And remember, I shared one of those internal and I just want you to turn inward. Everyone turn inward, right? Trust yourself with yourself. The resentment or that sense. Remember, I talked about Gretchen Rubin last time. I'm a person that I meet external obligations before I meet internal obligations. So pay attention to the emotions that come up when you're giving. Do you feel satisfaction and a sense of genuine desire to help, or do you feel obligated? that's leading to resentment or frustration. And then another thing that's been said here numerous times, right? Energy levels. Like that's a thing. We talked about the depletion. Before you agree to something, check with your energy, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't go and just put gas in my car, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it's riding past E on empty, there's a point that I know it's gonna run out if I don't put gas in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So do you have an emotional, mental, physical bandwidth to give? You have to ask that question before you give. A lot of times we're giving and then afterwards we ask the question. Right? No. Or even does that thought even make you feel drained? The thought of helping someone. Remember my one-sided friend of one-sided support? Like I felt depleted just thinking about helping this person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then lastly, I would just say the guilt tripping. Like you'll catch that too. You got to catch that. My dad talks about that. You will hear somebody say, "You would do this for me if you really love me," or "No one else is willing to help." Those are red flags, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Those are red flags. In the sport of in any sport I play, in red flags, you have to stop the play. But in relationships, we don't stop the play. We try to play harder. What? That's backwards. That's not a balanced relationship. That's not reciprocity. And then the external signs, I would just say the boundary setting, do what feels comfortable to you when saying no or asking for what you need in return. It becomes a muscle memory, right? Yes. Like that. I heard someone talk about the pattern of overextending, right? Ask yourself, you got to be honest with yourself. When you go to the doctor, they do a diagnosis. Like, what did you eat? Ask yourself, do I have a history of overextending myself? Do I find it hard to say no? Do I find it hard to say no even when it's in my best interest? Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. 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 Somebody's gonna hate Denard today. It's okay. It's okay. Hate me as long as you love yourself. It's okay. Right? And I'll stop here, man. Y'all, this is a great question. But it's also something I would say, like even Czar's classes, like there's so much self-worth is here. Like when you're talking about asking for help, like, are you struggling? Are you struggling right now? Do you feel safe enough to ask for help from this person within that relationship? Or do you feel a lack of perceived safety? If you feel a lack of perceived safety, that's an indication of potential imbalance in that relationship. So why are you asking for help? In my training, we have something as I wrap up here, man. Why did you just get me activated, Tabitha? I like that's blame shifting, by the way. I do that very well.
Me too.
But like,
you have to tell me when to come back when you're having this because I'm so fired. I'm fired.
Listen, remember even Czar talked about that wick, right? The wick, like don't let it go out because you're catch this. Yeah, you lighting somebody else's. So that's why I would say we in my field of training, we call these things resiliency pause. Right? You have to give yourself the gift of pausing before you say yes. If you feel pressure to decide immediately, right, when someone's important thing becomes an urgent issue for you, you are not aligned with your inner compass. You can hate me, but as long as you love yourself, we have accomplished the task today, and I am happy.
I said, and we are gonna go for real, y'all. But it's like I said to someone recently. I said no to something that they asked me to do, and it wasn't just because I wasn't able to do what they wanted me to do. It was also, if I'm not at my fullest and don't really believe that this is really authentic for me, I'm not going to bring to you what's important to you. I'm not going to do it justice. I'm not even going to be able, and because I see your worth and see I'm telling you no, get somebody else to do it. and
that's an act of love.
It's an act. That's my energy. Yeah, and it's like, and that's
Yes.
my energy. Your no's don't have to be like, it's not you being selfish. It's actually you being loving.
Oh my God! All right, I'm going on mute because you just activated. I'm going on mute. I promise you, I'm not going to speak after this. I'm not speaking because you're going to get me activated. I'm not speaking. I'm on mute.
I'm just saying. I mean, if we really start to take deep value in, if I really value Denard, folks, I only want from Denard what he has capacity for. I only want him to show up as authentically him. I'm calling his name because I
Sorry,
thought he had
stop.
something, but he has to. Oh, come on, y'all.
You got to stop. I promise you. Stop, please. Please, you activated me. Please stop. I don't know what to do with this. I really don't.
So you're not going to
Man, this
expect
dead
him
in
to
church.
be anything that you want. You're just going to accept him fully for
I
who he
have to
is,
accept him for what and
just
who he
fully,
is.
and just like that.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry,
That's
Denard.
that's
I'm
that's
just
wisdom. That's
Yeah.
wisdom. That's looking at another person and seeing their worth. It's also me understanding mine.
Yeah.
Love,
Just
this
seeing
whole
each
thing
other.
of love,
Yeah.
love is a oneness.
But what if they did not present their authentic self when you met them in the first place?
Tabitha,
Most
you're not
people,
going to get me started.
yeah.
No, those aren't. Y'all do
They don't
not.
even go.
Do not. That is not fair. We are not going. I promise you. Don't do that, please, please.
I'm gonna say this though.
Y'all just talked about being kind to Denard. Please,
Yeah, right.
y'all
I'm gonna say
activated
this to Tabitha. Probably, and I'm just gonna say this, and this is a very bold statement because I'm looking at the state of the world that we're in. I'm looking at even some research. Probably most of the people that you met weren't being their authentic self. But it don't change your responsibility to be your authentic self.
Wow.
A lot of people are
Ladies and
just being
gentlemen,
their
welcome to
person.
church.
A lot of folks are just being their personality, the mask that they wear. And oftentimes that's the frightened part of their personality. If somebody shows up and they're trying to win you over, that's a frightened part of their personality. If somebody shows up and they're trying to manipulate, that's a frightened part of their personality. If somebody shows up and they're trying to just get their way instead of accepting you for who you are, that's a frightened part of their personality. And we do that exact same thing to people. So the only alternative is to accept people for who they are, and for us to see their worth even when they don't see it.
Well, the mask, they wear the mask, they get you, okay? And then they remove the mask after you get married. What do you do as a Christian?
What do you do?
Yeah.
You tell
They
me.
were wearing the mask the whole time they are courting you. You thought that was the authentic self. And after the ring is on the finger, and
Mhm.
5 years into the marriage, they take off the mask.
Have you ever had on a mask and not shown up as your authentic self?
No, I don't have no mask.
You
I've
sure?
never-
We all
Yes.
have one. We all have one.
The
All
problem
of us
is,
have one.
for some reason, I don't.
Hear what I'm saying. The word mask or personality means persona. It means
Yeah.
mask.
Okay.
We all have one.
Okay.
Now, it may be in line with our authentic sense of being. That means that our spirit is 100% aligned.
Okay.
And how we show up in the world is 100% aligned. Sometimes when we say that people are not showing their authentic self, listen, if we start, and we're not going to go into this today, but some of our desire for romance causes people to wear masks that aren't real. So they show up in the date in a way that's going to win you over, to capture your heart, chivalry, and all of these other little things. That really is just a personality and not really the spirit of. That's
So
probably
then-
another conversation. So in some situations when we talk about marriage and all these other kind of things, people show up as their representative, or they show up as their best. They present a best self. But if we were really to sit and talk to the most authentic, the essence of their being, what message might we get? But again, like I said, just for the sake of, because I also, I've heard some of your story too, so I get it, but it's like for the sake of just time and all this other work, because I think we should talk about what you're talking about. Definitely 100%. the only role, because we often say, what do we do then? Well, tap into your authentic self and listen to the wisdom of your heart. Don't put energy towards that which is not authentic to you, and your answer will reveal itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Your answer will reveal itself. Yeah. What's authentic to you? Because we're dealing with a world of people who aren't living in authenticity. And we all fall into that sometimes. Everybody, let's do a mic in the honor of Mike.
I needed that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Helpful, folks.
Thank you, man.
Oh,
Right.
Right.
Mike does all that too, doesn't he? Hopefully Mike don't hit us, y'all. No, just was this helpful, folks? No, really,
Oh
real
my
talk though.
gosh.
Was this helpful?
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Ridiculously helpful.
Yes.
Absolutely. I want y'all to just real quick, what I want y'all to do. What I want you all to do real quick, Denard, I just want you to look at the screen, bro. And I want y'all to speak to Denard's worth right now. Not just to his delivery of message, not just to his, I want you to speak to his worth right now and how he's impacted y'all over these past couple of weeks with, well, just even in your regular circles, but in these master classes. And Denard, just receive it, man. As an authentic response, just receive the love that we're sending your way, bro. Real talk.
Thank you for the template.
Yep. We see you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, folks. Man, another fine day on Circles.
Hey, man, I just want to publicly tell you, man, I am always in awe of what you do, man, and also in admiration, man, from the space you do it with, man. You give place for joy in the way you give place for abundance. That's beautiful, man. I really see that as a virtue. I know sometimes it could seem unsustainable, but like the fact that you do it from a place that's authentic, like man, I really do appreciate you, man. You protect, you've shown me as a young black male to see how you move in these spaces, and with all jokes aside, man, I pray that you continue to be yourself in every space that you show up with. Continue to encourage people the way you encourage yourself, and my hopes, man, is that whatever you desire, man, whatever you desire, it's in front of you, it's in you, and you accomplish whatever you put your mind to, man, since that age of 12 where you knew what you needed to do. I'm happy to say that I had an opportunity, that my wife knew my purpose well enough that I could meet a perfect stranger who has now allowed people to speak into my life. So I really do want to say thank you, man. For real, for real.
I receive it. You're absolutely welcome. I didn't assume the whole position, y'all, over here, like he was prophesying over me. I didn't got my hands up. And all right, man. Listen. I appreciate all of y'all, man. Every one of you all too, and thank you all, honestly, for allowing. Even me and Denard are facilitators here, but listen, thank y'all for allowing us to be ourselves and not have to form fit to be every other kind of professional or every other facilitator. Thank you for letting us be us and receiving us as we are, as we're trying to receive you as you are. All right, folks. Let's go from autopilot, folks, to authenticity. Let's do it together. All right. Peace, folks. Get on out of here because y'all about to make my eyes sweat and I got to go find something. Peace. Y'all have a good one. Catch the replay in a couple of days on Spotify. All right.
Oh, yay. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Peace.
Thank you, everyone. All right. I was really sick for that. It's like, no, this is going to be a great one. Great. Okay. power hour.